3 years ago, my cousin Deshaun got fired on a Tuesday. He walked into his apartment that night, sat on his couch, and did something that surprised even him. He smiled, not because he was happy about losing his job, not because he had some amazing backup plan. He smiled because for the first time in his adult life, getting fired didn't mean his life was over. He had $23,000 in his savings account. That money didn't just sit there looking pretty. It bought him something you can't put a price tag on. Time. Time to breathe. Time to think. Time to find a better job instead of grabbing the first thing that came along. 3 months later, Deshaun started a new position making $18,000 more per year than his old job. The company that fired him actually did him a favor. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. If Deshaun had been living paycheck to paycheck like 60% of Americans, that same Tuesday would have been a complete disaster. He would have panicked. He would have taken the first job offer he got, probably for less money than before. He would have spiraled. The difference between those two outcomes wasn't luck. It wasn't connections. It wasn't even skill. It was $23,000 sitting in a bank account. That number, somewhere around $20,000, is what I call the turning point. It's the first major financial milestone that actually changes your life, not in some abstract, compound interest over 40 years kind of way. I'm talking about changes you feel immediately. Today, I'm going to break down exactly why $20,000 is the magic number, what happens in your brain when you hit it, and how it creates a snowball effect that makes every dollar after that easier to save. And if you've ever wondered why some people seem to build wealth easily while others stay stuck forever, this video is going to connect a lot of dots. Let's get into it. Let me start by explaining why $20,000 specifically matters. Not $5,000, not $50,000, $20,000. Here's the deal. Financial experts always say you should have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved as an emergency fund. The median household in America spends about $5,000 to $6,000 per month on basic living expenses. That includes rent or mortgage, food, utilities, transportation, insurance, and the stuff you actually need to survive. So $20,000 gives you roughly 3 to 4 months of breathing room. But here's what makes this number special. It's not just about the math. It's about what happens to your brain when you cross this line. There's research from Vanguard, one of the biggest investment companies in the world, that found something interesting. People who have just $2,000 saved for emergencies report being 21% more financially happy than people with nothing saved. 21% happier just from having $2,000 in the bank. That's not even 1 month of expenses for most people, but that tiny cushion creates a mental shift. Now here's where it gets good. When you push that savings to 3 to 6 months of expenses, around that $20,000 mark, you get another 13% boost in financial well-being on top of that. But more importantly, something changes in how you think. You stop operating in survival mode and start operating in growth mode. Let me explain what that actually means. When you have no savings, your brain treats money like oxygen. You're constantly worried about running out. Every decision you make is filtered through fear. Should I buy groceries this week or wait until payday? Can I afford to fix my car, or should I just hope it keeps running? What happens if I get sick and can't work? These aren't fun questions to think about. And when your brain is stuck answering these questions all day, it literally cannot think about bigger things. Scientists who study this stuff call it cognitive bandwidth. It's a fancy way of saying your brain can only handle so many problems at once. When you're broke, your bandwidth is completely used up just surviving. There's no mental space left to think about investing, career growth, or building wealth. It's like trying to plan a vacation while your kitchen is on fire. You can't do it. The fire takes all your attention. But when you hit $20,000 in savings, the fire goes out. Suddenly, your brain has room to think differently. Instead of asking, "How do I make it to next Friday?" you start asking, How can I make my money grow? Instead of being scared of every unexpected expense, you start seeing them as minor inconveniences. Instead of feeling trapped in your job, you start feeling like you have options. This shift is hard to explain until you experience it. But trust me, it's real, and it changes everything about how you move through life. Let me tell you about the people I know. We'll call them Maya and Jalen. Maya and Jalen graduated from the same college in the same year with similar degrees. They got similar jobs making similar money, about $52,000 a year. 4 years later, their lives look completely different. Maya has $47,000 invested. She drives a reliable Honda that's paid off. She lives in a decent apartment that costs less than 25% of her income. She sleeps well at night. Jalen has $900 in savings. He drives a leased BMW with a $480 monthly payment. He lives in a nicer apartment that eats up 35% of his income. He's stressed constantly, same starting point, same income. Wildly different outcomes. What happened? When they graduated, both Maya and Jalen started at zero. No savings, no investments, no financial foundation. In the first year, Maya made a decision that felt painful at the time. She committed to saving $800 every month before she spent on anything else. She called it paying herself first. This meant she couldn't afford the nice apartment her friends were getting. She drove her college car for 2 more years instead of upgrading. She cooked at home while her coworkers went out to lunch. Was it fun? Not really, but Maya understood something that Jalen didn't. She understood that the first $20,000 is the hardest money you'll ever save. And once you get it, everything gets easier. Jalen, on the other hand, did what felt natural. He upgraded his lifestyle as soon as he started making money. New car, nice apartment, dinners out. He figured he'd start saving later once he was making more. Here's the problem with later. Later never comes. When Jalen got a raise, his expenses rose to match it. When he got a bonus, he spent it on a vacation. He was always planning to save but never actually doing it. 4 years in, Maya had crossed the $20,000 threshold in her first 20 months. After that, her money started working for her. The compound interest kicked in. Each new milestone came faster than the one before. Jalen is still at zero. Every month is a struggle. Every unexpected expense is a crisis. Same income, same starting point, completely different results. Now let me show you the math that makes this work. And don't worry, I'm going to keep this simple. Let's say you're saving $1,000 every month. And let's say you're reinvesting that money somewhere that gives you an 8% return per year. That's roughly what the stock market has returned historically over long periods. How long does it take to save your first $20,000? About 19 months. That's 1.5 years of consistent saving. Now here's where it gets interesting. How long does it take to save your second $20,000? To go from $20,000 to $40,000? Only 17 months. Wait, what? Same amount of money. Same monthly savings, but it took 2 months less. Yes, and here's why. That first $20,000 isn't just sitting there. It's invested, it's growing, it's earning returns. So, while you're adding your $1,000 every month, your existing money is also growing on its own. You're getting help you didn't have before. Let's keep going. Third $20,000, about 15 months. Fourth $20,000, about 13 months. See the pattern. Each milestone gets easier than the one before. This is compound interest in action. Your money makes money. That new money makes more money. The snowball gets bigger and rolls faster. And here's the part that will blow your mind. By the time you have $400,000 invested, you can generate $20,000 in just 5 months. The same amount of money that took you 19 months to save when you started from zero now appears in 5 months, mostly from investment returns. You're doing the same amount of work, saving the same $1,000 per month, but the results are completely different. This is why that first $20,000 is so important. It's the boulder you have to push uphill. Once it crests the top, it starts rolling on its own. Here's something that sounds obvious, but completely changes how you think about money once you really understand it. When you have more money, the same percentage returns give you bigger dollar amounts. Let me show you what I mean. Say you invest $1,000 and it grows 10% in 1 year. You made $100. Nice, but not exactly life-changing. Now say you invest $10,000 and it grows the same 10%. Now say you have $100,000 and it grows 10%. You made $10,000 in 1 year without doing anything extra. Same investment, same return percentage, wildly different results. This is why rich people seem to get richer easily. They're not smarter than you. They're not using secret investments you can't access. They're just working with bigger numbers. And here's the encouraging part. You don't need to be rich to take advantage of this. You just need to cross that first major threshold. When you have $20,000 invested and it grows 8% in a year, that's $1,600 showing up in your account without you lifting a finger. $1,600 is real money. That's almost 2 months of car payments for most people. That's a nice vacation. That's a significant contribution to next year's savings. And that $1,600 gets reinvested, and then IT starts earning returns, and the whole thing accelerates. The rich don't have better investments, they have bigger starting numbers. And you can build that bigger number, 1 month at a time. Here's what most people miss about saving $20,000, and honestly, this might be the most important part of this whole video. When you save $20,000, you're not just collecting money. You're building yourself into a different kind of person. Think about what it actually takes to save $20,000 if you're starting from nothing. You have to track your spending. You have to know where your money goes. You have to say no to dinners out, to new clothes, to upgrades you don't need. You have to be consistent. Not just for a week or a month, but for well over a year. You have to delay gratification. You have to want the future more than you want right now. These are not easy skills. Most people never develop them. But here's what happens when you do. You prove to yourself that you're in control of your money. It's not controlling you. You prove that you can make sacrifices when they matter. You prove that you can commit to something and follow through. That's not just a financial skill. That's a life skill. And it affects everything you do after that. Once you've saved $20,000, you know you can do hard things. You know you can resist temptation. You know you can build something over time. That confidence spills over into your career, your relationships, your health, everything. People who can delay gratification consistently perform better in almost every area of life. There's decades of research on this going back to the famous Stanford marshmallow experiments. The ability to say not yet instead of right now is one of the strongest predictors of success in life. And saving $20,000 is how you train that muscle. Now let me tell you about something that happens once you cross the $20,000 line that nobody talks about. You start seeing opportunities. When you're broke, every unexpected event feels like a threat. Your car breaks down. Disaster. Your laptop dies. Crisis. Rent goes up. Panic. You're so focused on avoiding problems that you can't even see opportunities when they appear. But when you have $20,000 in the bank, something shifts. Your car breaks down, annoying, but you can handle it? Pay for the repair, move on. Your laptop dies. Okay, time to get a better one. Maybe this is a chance to upgrade. Rent goes up. Maybe it's time to look for a better place. Or maybe this is the push you needed to negotiate a raise. See the difference? Same events. Completely different responses, but it gets better. When you have financial stability, you start noticing opportunities you were completely blind to before. A friend mentions a side business idea. Before, you'd ignore it because you had no money to invest. Now you can actually consider it. A job opens up at a different company. Before, you'd be too scared to apply because what if it doesn't work out? Now you have a cushion. So, you can take the risk. A course or certification could advance your career. Before, you couldn't afford it. Now you can invest in yourself. This is what wealthy people mean when they say money goes to money. It sounds like some unfair cosmic rule. But really, it's just that having money gives you options. And options create more chances to make money. When you're broke, you have to say no to everything. When you have savings, you can say yes to the right things. That's a huge difference. Here's something about $20,000 that could be worth way more than the money itself. I call it walking away money. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're trapped. Wherever you work, whatever situation you're in, you can't leave because you need that next check to survive. Your boss knows this. Maybe not consciously, but on some level, they know you're stuck. This puts you in a weak position for everything, asking for a raise. You're scared because what if they get mad and fire you? Pushing back on unfair treatment, risky. You need this job. Looking for better opportunities. Hard to do when you can't afford any gap in income. You're playing defense all the time, just trying not to lose instead of trying to win. But $20,000 changes the whole game. With 3 to 4 months of expenses saved, you could quit tomorrow and be fine while you find something better. You probably won't quit. You probably won't need to. But knowing you could changes everything about how you show up. You negotiate differently. You speak up differently. You carry yourself differently. And here's the crazy thing. People notice. When you stop acting desperate, you become more valuable. You get taken more seriously. Opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere. I've seen this happen over and over. The person who can walk away often doesn't have to, because the confidence that comes from having options makes them perform better and get treated better. It's like having a secret superpower you hope you never need to use. Okay, here's where I need to give you a serious warning. A lot of people hit $20,000 and immediately blow it. They work so hard. They sacrifice so much. They finally have this nice cushion in their account, and they think, I deserve a reward, so they buy a new car, or take an expensive vacation, or put a down payment on a house they can't really afford. And just like that, they're back to zero. All that work, gone. Don't do this. That $20,000 is not a reward for good behavior. It's the foundation of your entire financial future. It's the seed that grows into everything else. If you spend it, you're not just losing $20,000, you're losing all the future growth that money would have generated. Let me show you what I mean. $20,000 invested today, left alone for 25 years at an 8% average return, becomes roughly $137,000. You didn't add anything to it. You just let it grow. Now imagine you spent that $20,000 on a car that loses value every single year. A car that will be worth maybe $5,000 in 10 years and nothing in 20. You didn't just spend $20,000. You spent $137,000 of future wealth. That's the real cost of treating your savings like spending money. Speaking of cars, let me talk about the biggest wealth destroyer in America. The average American spends between $600 and $800 every single month on car-related expenses. That includes car payments, insurance, gas, maintenance, and repairs. Let's call it $700 a month. That's $8,400 per year. Over a 40-year working career, that's $336,000 just on transportation. But wait, it's actually worse than that. If you had invested that $700 every month instead, at an 8% return, after 40 years, you'd have over $2.5 million. $2.5 million. That's retirement money. That's financial freedom money. That's never worrying about money again money. And most people hand it over to car dealerships without thinking twice. Here's the thing that kills me. The second you drive a new car off the lot, it loses about 20% of its value. Instantly, before you even get home. You just destroyed thousands of dollars of wealth by turning a key. Meanwhile, if you put that money in an index fund, it would grow. It would work for you while you sleep. I'm not saying you should never have a car. For most Americans, you need transportation. But there's a huge difference between buying a reliable used car for $10,000 cash and leasing a BMW for $600 a month. One of those choices builds wealth, the other destroys it. Once you have $20,000 saved, you start seeing these trade-offs clearly. You realize that looking rich and being rich are opposite strategies. The person in the flashy new car is probably stressed about payments. The person in the older Honda might have $200,000 in the bank. You can't tell who's wealthy by looking at what they drive. Often, the people who look wealthy are the ones going broke trying to keep up appearances. Here's something that happens when you cross $20,000 that surprises a lot of people. You stop stressing about small purchases and start focusing on big ones. When you're broke, every dollar matters. You debate whether to buy name brand or generic cereal. You calculate if you can afford a $4 coffee. You feel guilty about small pleasures. This is exhausting, and ironically, it doesn't actually move the needle that much. Let's say you're obsessed with saving on coffee. You make it at home instead of buying it. You save maybe $3 a day. 5 days a week. That's $15 a week. $780 a year. That's not nothing. But it's also not going to make you wealthy. You know what will make you wealthy? The big decisions. Where you live. A cheaper apartment could save you $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. What you drive. A used car instead of a new one could save you $400 a month. That's $4,800 a year. How much you earn. A job that pays $10,000 more is worth way more than skipping coffee for a decade. When you have $20,000 saved, you've proven you can handle the big stuff. You can make real sacrifices when it matters. So, you stop torturing yourself over the small stuff. You buy the coffee if you want it. You get the slightly nicer groceries. You don't feel guilty about small pleasures. But you never lose focus on the big decisions. The ones that actually determine whether you build wealth or stay stuck. This is incredibly freeing. You stop feeling deprived all the time. You enjoy life while still building wealth. It's not about being cheap. It's about being strategic. Let me be honest with you about why most people never save $20,000. It's not because they don't make enough money. Plenty of people making $40,000 a year build real savings. And plenty of people making $150,000 a year are broke. It's not because they don't understand the math. The math is simple. Even a kid can understand save money. Money grows. The reason most people never hit this milestone is because the beginning sucks. Here's what I mean. When you start from zero, every dollar you save feels like a sacrifice. You're giving up things you want for a number on a screen that barely moves. You save $500. Your account goes from $0 to $500. It feels like nothing. You save another $500. Now you have $1,000. Still feels like nothing. The returns are tiny because the base is tiny. 8% of $1,000 is $80 a year. That's nothing exciting. It takes almost 2 years of consistent saving to hit $20,000. That's 2 years of sacrifice with very little visible reward. Most people quit somewhere in the middle. They get frustrated that the number isn't growing faster. They convince themselves they'll start again later. They spend what they saved on something that gives instant gratification. And then they're back to zero, and they never cross the threshold. This is why I keep emphasizing that the first $20,000 is the hardest money you lions ever save. Not because you can't afford it, but because it requires sustained discipline with delayed rewards. If you can push through those first 19 months, everything changes. The math shifts in your favor. The psychology shifts. The momentum builds. But you have to survive the suck first. Okay, let's get practical. How do you actually save $20,000 if you're starting from nothing? Step 1. Know your numbers before you can save money. You need to know where it's going. Track every dollar you spend for 1 month. Every coffee, every subscription, every random Amazon purchase. Most people are shocked when they see it. They had no idea they were spending $200 a month on eating out or $150 on subscriptions they forgot about. You can't fix what you can't see. Step 2. Pay yourself first, the day you get paid. Move money to savings before you spend anything else. Automatically if possible. Don't wait until the end of the month to see what's left. There's never anything left. Decide on an amount. $500 a month. $800 a month. Whatever you can manage without starving. And move it to savings immediately. Step 3. Cut the big stuff, not the small stuff. Don't torture yourself over $4 coffees. Look at the big expenses. Can you move somewhere cheaper? Can you get a roommate? Can you drive a cheaper car? Can you get rid of a car payment entirely? One big change can free up hundreds of dollars a month. 100 small changes might save you $50. Focus your energy where it matters. Step 4. Increase your income. Cutting expenses only gets you so far. At some point, you need more money coming in. Ask for a raise. Look for a better job. Start a side hustle. Sell stuff you don't need. Every extra dollar is a dollar that can go to savings, and the faster your savings grow, the faster you hit the threshold. Step 5. Make it boring and automatic. The less you have to think about it, the better. Set up automatic transfers to your savings account. Set up automatic investments. Remove the decision from the process. When saving is a choice you make every day, you'll eventually make the wrong choice. When it's automatic, it just happens. Let me leave you with a picture of two possible futures. Future: you never cross the $20,000 threshold. Every month is a scramble. Every unexpected expense is a crisis. You're always one paycheck away from disaster. You stay stuck in jobs you hate because you can't afford to leave. You watch opportunities pass by because you don't have the resources to grab them. You feel stressed about money your entire life. At 65, you have barely anything saved. Retirement is a scary word. You'll be working until your body gives out because you have no choice. Future B. You push through the hard first 19 months. You hit $20,000. The snowball starts rolling. By 35, you have $150,000 invested. By 45, you have $400,000. By 55, you're approaching $1 million. You took better jobs because you could afford to be picky. You invested in yourself because you had the resources. You slept well because you always had a cushion. At 65, you retire on your terms. Maybe earlier if you want. Money is a tool, not a source of stress. You have options. Same starting point, same potential. Completely different outcomes. The only difference, one person saved $20,000 and kept going. The other never crossed the line. Look, $20,000 won't make you rich overnight, but it will change your brain, your options, your confidence, and your future. It's the foundation that everything else gets built on. If you're at zero right now, I'm not going to lie to you. The next 19 months won't be easy. You'll have to say no to things you want. You'll have to watch that number grow painfully slowly at first. But I promise you, on the other side of that $20,000 threshold, everything is different. Your money starts working for you instead of against you. You start seeing opportunities instead of just threats. You stop surviving and start building. The question ain't whether you can afford to save $20,000. The question is whether you can afford not to. Start today. Start with whatever you can. Pay yourself first. Make it automatic. Push through the suck. Your future self is counting on what you do next. If this video changed how you think about money, hit that like button. It helps more people find this content. Subscribe if you want more videos that break down money in simple terms without the usual financial industry nonsense. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's stuck paycheck to paycheck, send them this video. It might be the thing that finally helps it click. I'll see you in the next one.